This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. With forewarning, you are going to see a little bit of a rough patch in this video simply because there's something we got to take care of that I don't know if I'm going to be able to take care of the rest of this month. And obviously, if you know anything about the NHL, you know what's going on this month. And we'll get to that in a matter of moments. Secondary to that, to everybody that is going to fry me in the comments section for even suggesting such a thing or talking about such a thing right now when it comes to making a trade at this point of the season, given all that's gone on with the Oilers, please do me a favor. I want to see if the comments are going to fry me for suggesting such a thing. I want to see the view duration on this video 100%. All right, I want you to hear every single word I have to say before you make up your mind on what I'm saying. That said, too, folks, if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is consider taking the next 5-10 minutes, whatever it takes to get through this video. Trust me, it could take a lot longer. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd love to have you along for the ride that is this Oilers season, because my goodness, has it ever been a ride so far, and it can only get better from here, let me tell you. And that is where we end the housekeeping notes, folks. Today, talking about trading for a piece to replace Evander Kane. Now, suddenly, for the Oilers, you would discuss, well, isn't Evander Kane coming back around the trade deadline going to be kind of our trade deadline acquisition? And I've seen that joke floating around that for 2 years in a row, Evander Kane's going to be the Oilers trade deadline acquisition. I get it, I understand it, but at the same rate, too, is with this LTIR cap space, you kind of have a situation where you could make some things happen out there in the trade market. There's a name I want to throw your way that's been mentioned. I want to go over a couple other names that we've already talked about in years previous and see what else we can find out there on the trade market. But folks, let's get to the tough part, all right? Last night was Hockey Fights Cancer Night at the Calgary Flames Saddle Dome. Of course, a very hard night for all us hockey fans every single season. The annual tradition at for Hockey Fights Cancer Night. I'm already dreading doing this because I know I'm going to just be a blubbered mess. But for us Oilers fans, it's going to take on a different meaning this year, that's for sure. So without further ado, I did not get to fill out my card live and in person at the Saddle Dome last night. So this will be my card. It'll sit up there the rest of the month, and I'm going to tell you a little story about pretty much just how start to finish this kind of goes for me. As if I can get this right here, you're going to see right there I've got my Grandma Jay. She's the first person I really remember losing to cancer way back when. And then, of course, yeah, our hero Ben, right? So obviously, that said, last night was rough. I don't know when the Oilers Hockey Fights Night Cancer is or if it's already happened. So that's where I'm just getting this out of the way for you tonight and just kind of showing you if I would have had a chance to fill out my card last night live and in person at the Saddle Dome, this would have been on my card. So that is where it will sit the rest of the November, as it is Hockey Fights Cancer month here in the NHL. It'll sit up there for you the rest of the month in honor of our hero Ben, and of course my Grandma Jay, who I lost to cancer at a very young age. And of course, to say too, we fight in honor of all those who we've lost over the years and all those who we continue to lose. All right, that went better than I thought it was going to. Kept it together much better. All right, give me a sec and we'll get back to it. All right, folks, that's up there. I've done the hard part. We're good to go. Let's get to talking about Evander Kane and fill in that missing void, all right? So as it fills out for the Oilers, is you're missing currently Evander Kane and Kyler Yamamoto, right? You're missing two big pieces of your, whatever you want to say, right? For the Oilers, if you want to say your projected top six or your regular top six, whatever you want to say, it is kind of the situation of those are two big pieces for the Oilers to be missing at current. Obviously, you've had Nugent Hopkins and Hyman up there on the top line. You've had different combinations with Puljujärvi up there too. And yeah, it's one of those things where right now the Oilers are missing two guys that regularly contribute on the power play, on the top six depth roles, right, penalty killing, and these are guys that are core to your team right at current. So you're missing Evander Kane for 3 to 4 months. Kyler Yamamoto quite substantially less, hopefully. And for the Oilers, you've got a little bit of LTIR cap usage you could go out and do something with. That's the beauty here for us is there is some room now for some flexibility to figure out what we could do. Obviously, we've called some guys up, made the roster a little bit more interesting. Tyler Benson is coming back, hopefully in a couple days' time. But right now, you've got a current total where you've got about $4.75 million in cap space. So, to the theory here, and this is why I wanted to talk about the joke being that, well, okay, for the Oilers, Evander Kane's your trade deadline acquisition 2 years in a row, is you can kind of create that similar Kane effect that we had last year where he comes in before the trade deadline and then you just kind of get your reinforcements at the deadline as well. But simply put, you do it in reverse this year and get your reinforcements now. And the name that I kind of thought was interesting that popped out in my head, who's a UFA at the end of this year, would be Vladimir Tarasenko. And the reason I'm pitching this is just simply he's on a $7.5 million contract, which that you only got $4.5 million to play with. But if you move out one of Yamamoto or Puljujärvi, heck, even Fogel, and do something with the cap, you can make that work there as well. Now, by no means am I advocating trade everything, like trade a first, Puljujärvi, and something else for half retained Tarasenko. That's not what I'm advocating here for. I'm just kind of same as that Jack Campbell thing, spitballing ideas more or less to shoot them down. That's what I'm kind of trying to do here for you tonight, is just go through a couple of options, see what we're talking about. Because if you've watched kind of what Oilers media, Oilers fans have been talking about here in the past week since Evander Kane went down, or whatever it's been, a little bit of half a week, is the simple talk that the Oilers very much so should be looking to trade to fill that hole. And now I'm just spitballing ideas on how you can do it. And the one that I did find interesting was Vladimir Tarasenko. We've talked about him previously, I know that for sure. But he's one of those names where it kind of, right, makes sense for the Oilers to go after. A big, legit top six weapon, left-hand shot, can play either wing, away you go kind of deal in your top six. And that's exactly what you're looking for to replace the missing goal scoring from Evander Kane. Secondary out on the market, you'd have a Patrick Kane and a Jonathan Toews, both of who are still producing at an elite rate at their advanced stages of their career here with the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, obviously, two of those guys require a lot more math to make that money work. Even Patrick Kane or Jonathan Toews at half retained, you're still talking over $5 million, and you're still having to move some money out to make that LTR money work right current now. So that's the scary part, is if you were to get half retained on Tarasenko and move out a piece, you're essentially getting Tarasenko for free, and then at the same rate you're holding on to that LTR cap space to call some more guys up if you feel like you need to do it. So that's where the beauty is for the Oilers with Tarasenko, I think heavily, is he's a guy, right? The St. Louis Blues are absolutely struggling right now. Give me a quick second to check the standings, but I know the Blues aren't looking too good. And I mean, I don't know if we want to make another trade this quickly with the Blues after trading them Samorukov for Costin. But just quickly take a look here. St. Louis Blues in the basement. In fact, the St. Louis Blues are worse than the Vancouver Canucks this year because the Canucks have lost 3 games in extra time. But still, they've got 10 points on the season in 13 games, 3 games below 500 through 13 games. You got to think with a negative 17 goal differential that you might be able to shake loose Vladimir Tarasenko. Now, that's just one name that you could easily point a finger at and say, yep, that one makes sense, let's do it. Because realistically, Tarasenko's only got 4 goals on the season, so it's not like he's out there really dominating. And I mean, if Tarasenko was dominating, I don't think the Blues would be necessarily, I guess you could say, 5-8 on the season. Tarasenko, though, still with 10 points in 13 games. So keep that in mind there too. For Tarasenko, he is definitely still producing points and would definitely produce in an Edmonton Oilers top 6 role where Evander Kane was previously slotted. So folks, absolutely, right? You can look at that. You can look at Kane. You can look at Taves. You can look at some other names you've been rumored. But realistically, I am surprised Oilers aren't pushing harder for Vladimir Tarasenko right now. Oilers fans, I guess I should say, because that's a name that we've been rumored to have interest in before. And I don't know, how much would it truly take? Would it be Puljujarvi, Yamamoto, or Foegele in a first, and you could get Tarasenko out of St. Louis? Is it going to take substantially more? Is it going to take a prospect plus? I don't know what you're going to have to give up to get Tarasenko half retained on a 1-year deal, but that's just the nature of the beast right now. Is the Oilers, all by accounts from the media, fans, everybody, have to be looking to upgrade this situation. And in fact, you know what? I think I'm going to change how that's sitting, because I really don't like that sitting there, getting that direct light. That's a little hard to read. So I'm going to just quickly nuzzle that over there, and that should allow you to see that a little bit better. So there you go. Right? Yeah, it's one of those names that I'd like to see out there traded for sure. I mean, if the Blues are going to struggle, no reason to go down with the ship if you're Vladimir Tarasenko. And for the same rate, too, the Oilers need that top 6 help. So why not go and get it right now? And you can do it, right? You got the assets. That's what you're being in win now mode's all about. It's a scary pick, but again, it just comes down to getting the job done. And if Ken Holland will make a second consecutive trade with the St. Louis Blues. This is why, folks, I said stick with me before making up your mind about this whole video, because I don't want to be sitting here advocating yes, the Oilers need to or not. I'm just sitting here spitballing ideas, saying why it makes sense, but do I see it happening? Your guess is as good as mine, all right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you 100%. I know for a fact the Oilers are trading for whoever. No, that's not the case, right? So, end of the day, we'll see what happens. But that's why why every video usually has a question mark in the title. Will the Oilers make a trade to fill Evander Kane's hole? I don't know. Find out. Guess we'll find out together. I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thanks for tuning in. I will catch you in the next one.